Welcome to the JCPS MTSS training on the Classroom Systems Toolkit with a focus on the application Token Economies. I am Melissa Loxon, MTSS Engagement Resource Teacher with Elementary Zone 3.
I am Matt Traskus, MTSS Engagement Resource Teacher with the High School Zone. Please take a moment to write down or type the case-sensitive bit.ly into your web browser. This will allow you access to the slide deck and all the links for future reference.
These are the components of MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. As you can see, MTSS provides multiple levels of support for all learners and aligns resources and support with our district's 6 systems for students and for teachers who deliver and support instruction. MTSS addresses academic, social, emotional, and behavioral development. It focuses on overall school improvement that is sustainable. JCPS has 3 departments within MTSS, as shown on this concept map. MTSS Academics, directed by Donna Lawson, supports schools by ensuring teachers are providing all students with academic supports with a focus on Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions and support. MTSS Behavior Department, directed by Sandra Hensel, supports schools in implementing school-wide behavior systems and frameworks, including positive behavior interventions and supports, or PBIS, and the Behavior Support Systems Model, which is an alignment of PBIS and restorative practices. Our department is MTSS Engagement, directed by Dr. Naomi Brahim. The goal of the MTSS Engagement Department is to increase student achievement by equipping teachers with high-yield pedagogical practices to maximize student engagement. 6 MTSS toolkits were created to provide resources for Tier 1 instructional practices to increase student engagement, reduce student behaviors, and to decrease disproportionality. Here are the 6 MTSS toolkits. By clicking the toolkit image, you will access the MTSS department webpage and each toolkit. To ground our thinking for this toolkit, we will utilize this definition. Teachers use academic and behavioral data to prescribe short and long-term supports for students to meet and exceed standards and strengthen their sense of belonging. This toolkit is broken down into 3 high-yield practices defined by John Hattie as practices teachers can use to move learning forward. All 3 are needed to apply this application. It is important that you familiarize yourself with these practices prior to using the application Token Economy. The first high-yield practice is student-teacher relationships. Any educator is said to have a good student-teacher relationship when the degree of interactions between themselves and the student end positively. This is easily seen in classrooms with positive environments and few behavior problems. Remember, the bulk of the work is on the teacher to cultivate and maintain this positive relationship. The next high-yield practice is classroom management. In this practice, teachers set roles and expectations, sometimes with the aid of students, and then use positive strategies to have students adhere with the roles. These roles should be reasonable based on grade level, and the outcomes of teacher and student interactions should be positive. Having good classroom management is a major indicator of student success. The third high-yield practice involves teacher expectations of performance. Teachers who believe that their students can succeed have a great impact not only on academic success, but behavioral success as well. In order to have high expectations, teachers should voice these independently of the school-wide expectations, emphasize growth and progress in their expectations, regularly communicate these expectations, give students reasonable challenges, encourage the student that they can be successful, and give regular feedback on student progress. Teacher expectations can be applied to the whole class, or, if necessary, to individual students after being modified for their needs. On this slide, we have the definition for token economy. In a token economy, teachers assign points or a token for behaviors both positive and negative of students. Teachers also provide feedback on student behavior throughout the day based on the distribution of points. Before we dive into more specifics of token economies, let's talk about tiered or layered supports. Notice the graphic on the slide showing the various levels of support, starting with Tier 1 for all students being the foundation. Tier 2 supports layered on top and provided in addition to Tier 1 for a small percentage of students, with Tier 3 layered on both of these and provided for an even smaller percentage of students. Our focus for today's training, token economies, can be used as a Tier 2 or Tier 3 support. Teachers know they are successful in the application of a token economy when the unwanted behaviors are eliminated through the reinforcement of the desired behavior through the use of a tangible or token reward system. For the purposes of this training, we are asking teachers to learn about the token economy and how to implement one in their classroom. At the end of the presentation, teachers will be asked to reflect on a token economy. In a token economy, teachers are asking students to increase desirable behaviors in the classroom while decreasing undesirable behaviors. The way this is accomplished is through the use of tokens. Tokens can be physical, such as buttons or marbles, verbal, items of praise, or even virtual, as in a recorded point system. It is one of the most effective ways of changing behaviors for students to follow expectations. However, this system is complex and needs a great deal of clarity and transparency to be effectively implemented. In this short 5-minute video about Class Dojo, keep in mind the difference between positive reinforcement and unintended public shame.
Hello and welcome to For Teachers. Today's video I'm going to show you all how to use Class Dojo. I think it's a great app and I think a lot of teachers use it already. They use it on the interactive whiteboard or perhaps on their iPad so that they can give points or reward systems to their children. I think it is much more than that. I think it's amazing. I think it's a great tool to use for behavior management, but I also see a lot of teachers in classrooms that I go to not using it well or not using it to the best ability that it could be. So I'm going to give you 4 tips today. The tips in this video are for beginners, people who are new to Class Dojo, but there is one killer tip, number 4, to stick around for. If you've used Class Dojo in the past though, you might want to check out part 2 of this video. Part 2 is going to be a little bit more about hacks, how to get the best out of Class Dojo, some of the best things I've tried, some up-leveling skills, so do check out that video and I'll put the link on at the end. Okay, sit back, enjoy. There are 4 tips in this video and let's see tip number 1. Tip number 1, I would like to show you how to quickly set up your Class Dojo. Once you've gone to the website, you can scroll yourself down and you can look at your classes, and if you click the plus button, you can add a new class. Once you've added a new class, you can give it a class name. So for instance, this one I'm just going to call New Demo, and you can give your class grade as well. So whichever grade you teach, you can give it your grade. I'm going to go for grade 3. Once you click Add Class, you're ready to import your student list. I think the easiest thing to do is to click at the top right where it says Import and choose Import from Word, where you've already got your document with your class list of names. Just highlight those and copy, and you're going to paste that list back into the list. Make sure that you've separated each name with a comma or with a space, and you can check that you've got the first and last names in the right order before you continue. Once you press that, you're done adding students. Class Dojo will just run through that we're going to share the positives with parents and populate that grid. You can invite parents so they can see and check up on those points, and you're ready to go. Effectively, that is the first step for setting up your class dojo. Tip number 2, I'm going to show you how to set up your class into team groups and how to place a mascot for each group. So you'll notice that my class here has been set up into different groups and each one has been color coded. I'm just going to press the plus button and show you how to do that. If you click add group, you can give a blue tick to those people that you want in that group, and then you go down to the bottom to create group, and it will set up different groups so you can allocate table groups or reading groups, however you set up your classroom. Okay, so the most important part about having groups is that you can then give group points. You can select all group, add group, and just give a point for that table or that group. And secondly, the next thing to do is to just check that you've got the same avatar for each group, and it really gives them a brand or a mascot, so something to identify them. So if you go to edit class list, you can scroll down and you can find the kids that you want to put into that group. You click their avatar and you can scroll down and select one. So I'm going to give this an orange team theme, and everyone's going to have the same orange avatar. And you just click save, and then you can start to do that for everybody else in that group. After you've set up that for your team groups, you can see, going back to the group list, you can very quickly click on a group, award them a task. So the whole table's been helping each other. You've given that group 1 point. If you go back to the title screen, you'll see another way to do it is, it's very easy to recognize that all of these students are now the same color. So you can quickly click on all those ones at the same color and give them a group point too. So there are different ways to add those points. Okay, tip number 3 is to edit skills and value. This time I'm going to show you how to edit your class, and instead of looking at students, you can click on the skills tab at the top. If you choose one of these icons, the blue pencil will come up and it'll show that you can edit that. So instead of saying helping others, you might want to focus really well on good teamwork. And you can change the point weighting too. If you change that to 5 points, it's going to be a much bigger reward for that whole team. Click save and you'll see that the changes have been made. So now, when I go back to my class list, I can select a group, award that point, and instead of 1 point, it'll be 5 points each for great teamwork. And the best thing about having this is that whatever is really griping on you, whatever really irritates you at the moment in your class, you can make that a focus and suddenly it becomes a super positive thing. So perhaps in your class, the thing that really annoys you the most is that the glue lids are always left off. Well, why not turn that into a positive? Glue lid's left on, let's scroll down, let's give it a diamond because we really want to focus on that. It's something rare that never happens in our class. And the next time that happens, you can make it into a really positive thing. Guys, I'm going to give you points if you get your glue lids left on, and show them that it's worth 5 points and it's something that you're all going to start respecting a lot more in your own classroom. Okay, so moving on to our final points. And so on to tip number 4. Tip number 4, as I said, is the most important one. And it's the thing that I see a lot of people not following, or a lot of people making a few little errors that are so easy to change to get the best out of Class Dojo. So sit back and watch tip number 4. Final point is to never, ever remove Class Dojo points. Now, there is the option on Class Dojo to give points, and also when you click someone, you can click the needs work button and you can set up points for negative points, like good for nothing, late, lazy. But the negative connotations have been branded as lazy and losing a few points. I feel it's really detrimental to the child's development, and it's not really great behavior management either. You may as well click, you've lost 5 points because the teacher's lost patience with you, which is really not effective behavior management at all. And what happens is children get negative points, they start to lose points, and if they're losing a lot of points, they might even go into the red. They might have -4, so you could even give the whole class a negative point like this, which is really not great. I don't think anyone should say that the whole class needs a group punishment or a loss of points. It's a little bit like saying that you're going to lose money for a bad day at work, and you'd hate it if someone started to take salary money from you after you've done a great job for the rest of the week, just for having one small little blip. And it really does stay there, and I think, as you can see, it could stay there all day until they get points and go back into the green, which could have a really negative effect on them. I think if a child comes into class each morning or from one lesson to the next and sees that they're still starting on the back foot and they're starting on a negative, it's really not going to put them in a great mood and make them feel ready to do something positive. And I really think it is that simple, that to stick to the positives, to make sure that you are a positive classroom, and think about these points as a digital reward. There's no tangible token that they're taking home. It costs you nothing to produce a Class Dojo point. What does it matter if you're giving thousands of these points out? People come into my classroom and they see that my Class Dojo total in the corner is up to 5,000 or something, and they think, wow, what are you doing? You're giving out so many points. I give out lots of different rewards as well, but Class Dojo points, they're something that don't mean too much. And if you really want to see how I give out so many points, but still maintain it as a positive reward system that still trains children to behave and manage their own behavior, then you really need to stick around for part 2, so give it a look. We are for teachers. Don't forget to leave comments below. I know Class Dojo is going to be really popular, so hit us up with what you use it for, tips for me, because I don't know everything. And if you've got any... Hello and welcome to For Teachers. Today's video...
In order to effectively implement this application, teachers must consider the following. First, teachers must have a plan regarding the tokens, the amount given, the behaviors, and the rewards prior to implementing. Next, students need to be taught and modeled the desired behaviors. Then, the teacher must monitor behavior of the class and immediately award tokens for the desired behavior. Note, it may be inappropriate to remove tokens from a student or the whole class, so this is not a recommended for early childhood and some elementary classrooms. The next step is for the teachers to provide opportunity for the students to gain tokens and trade tokens in for rewards consistently. Next, monitor the student points to ensure that the system is a success. Finally, fade this reward system to allow the rewarding of tokens to be more subtle. Here are 2 examples of supporting token economies. The first example on the left illustrates the use of school-wide expectations in order to promote good behaviors. Here, a student is given an award for displaying the desired behavior, but it did not necessarily come from their teacher. In this use of the token economy, more teachers and administrators are empowered to participate in the rewarding of students. In the example on the right, a student has a visible reminder or goal sheet for what they would like to earn when they trade in their tokens. Here, we have given you some tips to be successful with token economies. Remember to keep your system simple and be consistent with implementation. Be sure to give specific praise to the good behaviors. Another thing to remember is to keep calm and neutral voice tone and facial expression when students aren't meeting expectations. Lastly, be your student's cheerleader. Based on the examples of the previous slides, how would you implement a token economy in your classroom? Do you think it would be more powerful for students to have a school-wide token economy? Why or why not? For this application to be successful, teachers should first keep these considerations in mind. First, the token economy system is complex and may require a great deal of instruction. Next, the teacher must do a great deal of data collection. Also, if used as a classroom system, it is often difficult to fade students out of the token economy. This application is not intended to be a long-term strategy. And then also, the relative success of this system is dependent upon the student-teacher relationship. To create a classroom environment that is culturally responsive, teachers must first be aware of the cultural norms of the students. Based on these norms, some behavior interventions are more appropriate than others. Whichever intervention is chosen, the goal is to create a community of learners that feel appreciated for who they are. In classrooms where ECE students are present, teacher collaboration and data collection are key. Be certain to collect data on the specific behavior to track their behavior. Collaborate with the student's teacher of record, or TOR, to help implement appropriate interventions. Follow up with the TOR if the interventions are working or are they not. Creating a collaborative learning environment requires teachers to have solid classroom management skills. When engaging your students in authentic projects, be certain that you have the appropriate class-wide and individual behavior supports in place. These supports will increase engagement in students and increase the likelihood of a successful project. One of the most important aspects of any behavior system is the tenet of self-assessment. No matter the system, teachers should continually monitor how well each student is doing and make actionable decisions about the program. Specifically for the token economy, teachers must also monitor the most popular rewards and plan accordingly. Finally, monitoring individual student success to ensure that the whole class is buying into the system and not just a few students. On this slide, you will find supports from the MTSS plan and the JCPS Behavior Intervention Grid with a link. This grid gives potential interventions for commonly seen classroom misbehaviors. For those wishing to know more about the application of the token economy in your classroom, here are some associated references. Thank you for joining us to learn more about token economies. For more information on this application and many others, please visit the MTSS website.